Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday with the Jocks of All Trades podcast. We are live for Jock Talk. If you've been following, we took a week off right after we talked some stuff for the draft, and we are jumping right back into the draft because we like doing that kind of stuff. So tonight, we are covering AFC draft grades. Before we jump into that, just a couple words. First is our sponsor, Fresh Cuts. Caleb Kemper does a great job. If you're local to Marion, Indiana, reach out to him through freshcutsbarbershop.com. Book with him. Mondays and Tuesdays usually are great times to get in and get a haircut with him. Fresh Cuts, it's not just a haircut, it's an experience. We just want to thank him for his continued support and his sponsorship with us. Let's also thank some of our friend pods. Thank you to Aubin and Channy Afro Latinos for constant help, support, designs, showing up and hosting sometimes, just kind of everything. Some of our new friends, Rules of the Frame, a movie review podcast that will start showing up with us on Fridays with my friend Connor Reed. Go like and support them on Spotify. And then, of course, one of our favorite guests, Billy Martell, at 1,000 Wives of Weird podcast. You can also find them on Spotify as well. Thanks to all of you for reaching out, supporting, being on episodes, everything that you've done. Hope to see more of all of you soon. Okay. Now that I've gotten my advertising spiel out of the way, Kyle, let's go ahead and start with the AFC East. So I guess we're just gonna go. Let's go with the Bills. I'm pulling up their picks currently, and then we're gonna go through that team. If my Wi-Fi, you know what, I'm gonna come off Wi-Fi because it doesn't like me right now.
Yeah, we can go with the Bills first. That's fine. I think the Bills had a very, very good draft. I think if we look at the Jets in the AFC East, they probably had the best one, but the Bills, in my opinion, they didn't reach it all. Kyrie Elam in the first round, well, that was a solid pick. I mean, a lot of people kind of had him probably going end of round one, but I mean, he's a Florida corner who produced. James Cook, Dalvin Cook's little brother, I think that's a solid pickup for them. I always thought the Bills needed offensive linemen, but not for Josh Allen to be protected in the pocket, but like for running room for the running backs. So like in that sense, like they probably could have used a lineman, but getting James Cook, who can do hopefully more things than Singletary and
Zach Moss.
Yeah, guys like that. I think he can. Getting Khalil Shakir in the 5th round, I think is a solid pick. I think he'll step on the field, and I think he'll play right away with Josh Allen. Getting the punt god, Matt Araiza, in the 5th round, thought that was pretty good as well. So, all in all, I thought they had a really good draft. I'd probably give them a solid B. So
I gave them a B minus. I don't think they reached. I just didn't love Kyer Elam. It's not that I don't like him. I just don't think that they had to take him in the first round, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He probably still could have been there around to like a couple of their picks. Like they weren't reachy. They just probably could have gotten more value later. But Kyer Elam, gosh, is a freak athlete. He's definitely to pair well with Tre'Davious White. They're both that kind of like rangy, athletic type of shutdown.
They're both very long corners. Like that's, they lost Levi Wallace from free agency. Their corner needs. And they have a lot of like veteran guys in that secondary. I mean, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and then Tre'Davious White. Like they're all pros and really good ones. So like if he was to go anywhere, like to learn off of those guys and to be on a defense, it's already like pretty elite. Means you don't have to do that much. Just kind of do your job and you'll progress. He doesn't have to shut an entire side of the field down like Ahmad Gardner might have to. But so I think for his development, at least, I think it's going to help him because he's not going to have to step in right away and save the team.
I agree with that. That was my thought. He was in a place that wasn't in desperation mode. Like that's always good for more developmental talent like Elam is. Yeah, so I agree with you. I'll give him a B minus and would you say B?
Yeah, I give him a B. Yep.
Cool. So we're pretty close. Let's go to the Patriots. I don't understand. He could be right. He could be a genius, or he could be completely horrible and way off. There's no anything here. Like Cole Strange, yeah, it's a need. I get it. He's probably going to take over with Shaq Mason being gone, but does he have the talent to do that? Is the question. Let's see, Tyquan Thornton. I think you and I both talked about that. That was weird. Although it should probably mean the end of N'Keal Harry, because I mean he was talked about being traded. I guess they found their guy to replace him.
Yep.
Marcus Jones, again, good. Did he deserve to go in the third?
More of a really glorified returner at that point. Like, I think if he was fully healthy and produced consistently, yeah, he probably could be a solid second rounder. But like his health concerns, him kind of being just more of a kick returner, punt returner, and then the other Jones in round 4, which I'm sure you're getting to. Many people said he was overdrafted as well and had a lot of off the field issues. So
there were 2 interesting picks here besides Thornton and Cole Strange. I want your thoughts on this. The Patriots, who have a stuffed running back room, took Pierre Strong out of South Dakota State. Was this stupid? Is this just take the best available? What's if you're the Patriots, what's going through your mind when you take that pick?
Well, I think both Pierre Strong and Bailey Zappi, like they're not.
That was my second one. Yeah,
they're not the worst like picks at round 4, but
they just don't need it.
They don't, and that's the hard thing. Not the hard thing, but that's the weird strategy in the Patriots draft is like in round 1 and round 2, they went for need rather than best player available. In round 4s, getting Pierre Strong and Bailey Zappi, probably some of the best players available, but they didn't need them. So like their strategy in this draft was not consistent. It wasn't consistent at all. Like Tyquan Thornton in round 2, like nah, not at all. That's stupid. I'm pretty sure David Bell was on the board, and he's a much better receiver than Tyquan Thornton is. Now, could Thornton be elite? Sure, anything's possible, but I never would have picked Thornton over David Bell, in my opinion.
When they did, the only thing I could think of is they have a lot of faith in Mac Jones to make plays.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Whether that's founded or not will be determined in year 2. So
yeah, and I don't know, just like Mac Jones's game year 1 wasn't really like
explosive.
Yeah, he's more. I think he's going to get better. I think he did really well his rookie year, but to have a receiver like his main guy, a developmental receiver who can only really just run, that's not Mac. That's not going to be Mac Jones's favorite target. Like, oh, I got a receiver. Nah, he's just there to like. It's going to take him at least 2 to 3 years to actually become something. So, in my opinion, for Mac Jones' development, it doesn't really help him out that much. It's a deep target, but like Mac Jones, that's not really his game. So I don't really. Yeah, I just think strategy overall, I'm going to give them a D because I don't think they had a consistent strategy at all for this draft. So
seems legit. So I gave them a D. What about you?
Yeah, I gave them a D as well.
Seems about right. Let us go to the Dolphins. Let's make it quick. Look, when you don't pick in the first and second round, chances are you're not going to pull an elite talent that's going to make a difference right away. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with a D. You took a linebacker, fine. I mean, I guess that is kind of a weaker spot on their defense. You took a receiver. Why? You've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I guess you're missing Devontae Parker, but will the guy from Texas Tech, Eric, whatever, will he even play? They must not have felt good about taking a linebacker because they took a linebacker again. And then they took a quarterback in the 7th round. So you did nothing to help Tua other than trade for Tyreek Hill. The videos that are coming out of training camp don't look good.
No, they don't.
I don't think this moved the needle for the Dolphins at all.
No, I don't think it did. I mean, Tyndall's a nice linebacker. I think in round 3, round 4, wherever they got him, it's a good value pick. But again, the strategy, I think we talked about this in the last episode. It doesn't make much sense putting a lot of your stock, mostly all of your draft stock, into a receiver who's on the back leg of his career with a quarterback you're unsure of. So again, like, I'm going to go strategy wise in this draft. I'm going to give the Dolphins a D plus. I don't think it's great.
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I'm having camera problems for a second.
No, you're good.
I'll keep talking. But yeah. So Dolphins is a D. I don't know how you felt, but that feels pretty indicative of you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Let's go to the New York Jets. Listen, they took the Patriots playbook here in terms of the more picks you have, the better off you're going to do. And I would give them a high grade. I think that they did really well. Look, they took Ahmad Gardner, then they turned around and got Garrett Wilson, then shut off on me. Hang on. Jermaine Johnson. Then you go out and you get Brees Hall. Then you go get Jeremy Ruckert. Then you go get an O lineman. Like they addressed kind of everything.
Yeah.
And there it is. And addressed it well. So listen, I'm going to give them an A minus. They didn't take a lot of developmental talent. They took a lot of guys that are going to probably contribute day one. Brees Hall already is looking to beat out Michael Carter. Garrett Wilson is probably going to get thrown to 1 billion times by Zach Wilson. Ahmad Gardner could be the second coming of Darrelle Revis. Jermaine Johnson is finally going to give them some pass rush. Like, was there a bad pick that they had? I don't think so.
No, I loved every single pick. Like, even Max Mitchell, I think he could step in from day one and play at right tackle if they needed him to. Like, he's going to be that swing tackle that they need just in case Mekhi Becton doesn't really want to play football anymore. So Max Mitchell as a swing in the 4th round, Jimmy Ruckert, who I think we both think is a really solid tight end option, especially in round 3.
Yes, sir.
I see starters at every pick here. So I'm going to give them an A plus. Now, obviously, drafts, how they work out. Like, we think it's an A plus now. Then 2 years later, it's an F. But it's not how it works in this episode. It's not work out. That's not how it works in the show. So right now, I'm giving it an A plus. I loved all their picks. They were aggressive. They didn't reach at all.
I was going to say without being reachy.
Yeah. Like Garrett Wilson at 10, you could have argued he should have went earlier. Jermaine Johnson, pick 26. He probably should have went earlier. Same with Brees Hall. Same with Jimmy Ruckert. So, like, they were aggressive. And these were all, like, needs, too, I mean, maybe not running back was the biggest need, but I think we've seen the NFL having a 1-2 punch is very it is kind of a need. Like, it's what teams are doing now. So, yeah, I'm going to give them an A plus for sure.
Yeah, it's a good one. Let's go to AFC North. I'll be a little more biased in this one. I'll try not to be. Let's go with the Bengals first, since they were the ones to make it to the Superb Owl. They didn't take bad players. I just don't think they addressed everything they need to. Daxton Hill, great. He could play corner. He could play safety. He's kind of been a hybrid kind of player in the secondary. Great. I liked Cam Taylor-Britt out of Nebraska. I thought he'd be a good fit. Will he develop well with the Bengals? That's the real question. Then kind of everything after that was kind of blah. So you got hopefully two starters on your defense. You signed a bunch of weirdos in free agency for the O-line. But you didn't get anything that makes me go, ooh, okay. I mean, they got Leo Collins, right? That is the Bengals I'm thinking of. Yes. Oh, he kind of froze. Okay.
Yeah.
I think so. It's great, but I still think they would have needed to do more on the O-line for me to really say this was a solid draft for the Bengals. So I gave them a C. It's not a sexy draft for them. It was a needy draft. What do you think? Uh-oh.
Oh, with that, after Daxton Hill, I feel like their entire draft should have been focusing on D-line and offensive line. I think that's where the game is won after you have your really talented quarterback. We know the receivers that they have. So, like, getting Cam Taylor-Britt, I don't think moves the needle at all. Okay picks, but in my opinion, they probably should have went Daxton Hill first and then really just focused on the offensive line and defensive line. Because offensive line, I mean, it is like you said, they got some free agents and everything, but they're not long-term answers. They're not long-term solutions. I think Leo Collins could be, but yeah, again, they should have probably went offensive line right after Daxton Hill, and they just kind of effed it up. So I'm going to give them a C plus. I think. I think Cam Taylor, Zach Carter, Daxton Hill are all good players, but I just don't think they were the smartest in terms of their strategy.
No, and I'm afraid they're going to waste the talent that is Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And based on their draft, it seems to be going that way. Let's go to the Cleveland Browns. Did they do anything really, like, of substance besides replace defensive end, really, if Clowney doesn't re-sign? That's about all they did.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I like David Bell in round 3. I like Perion Winfrey in round 4. Alex Wright's not bad. Emerson at one point. I mean, that's still an early pick, number 68. He ran a little bit slow, but he produced pretty well in the SEC with Mississippi State. Katie York's a little weird, and so is Jerome Ford. Like, after round 4, it kind of gets weird. But with their first few picks, like, I think they made the most of it. And I liked their first few picks. And I even like Jerome Ford, so they don't need him at all. I'm going to give them a B- on this one. I think they did the most with what they have, and you can get your long-term answer at quarterback and then have this draft and still get like a David Bell type of receiver out of it and improve your defensive line, then I think that's a win. So I'm going to give them a B-.
Sweet. I gave the Browns a D.
I'm working on my mic.
Oh, you're okay. Hang on. I can. Do you want me to kick you out for a minute? Okay. I'll let him work on his mic for a minute. I gave him a D. It just, again, didn't move anything. Oh, he's good. Okay, I'll bring him back. There we go. Hey, the Browns, I gave a D. It just didn't. There were some good pieces, but it's not anybody that's going to be a day one contributor. It's going to have to be people that are developmental. Even though I like David Bell, I agree with you. Perion Winfrey I thought was good, but just nothing that does it for me for them. Let's go to the Steelers. We'll save the Ravens for a minute. Let's go to the Steelers. I'm going to pull up their draft picks here. I guess the real question is, how did you like their first pick? That kind of determines their entire draft, since that was their biggest position of need coming into this draft. Personally, I hated it. I hated it. I still can't get over it. I can't get away from the 1 year wonder kind of thing, and that's what he strikes me the most, being at Pitt and having the Blitnikoff winner. Like, how would you have done without a good receiver? Like that's what worries me, because Deontay Johnson is good, Claypool is good. You've got Ebron, you've got Freiermuth, you've got Najee Harris. You've got the right pieces. I just don't know that quarterback was the right piece to go around him. George Pickens, I like it. It could be like AJ Green or bust. It's one of the two. Leal, again, he's a bit undersized. He could kind of play D tackle. He could play D end. Again, could be really great. Could be a bust. Calvin Austin posted a really great 40 time at the combine. Again, could be really good. Could be a bust. Like that's how I felt the entire time on every Steelers pick. I'm like, okay, you went with high possibilities, but I don't know that you picked the highest ceiling guys. So nothing was bad. I'll give them a B. I would have given them an A had they picked a more solid quarterback. What do you guys think?
You can go ahead. I think his mic went out.
Yeah, your volume's off, Kyle.
Yeah, I probably give them a B minus. I kind of agree with what you're saying. Like their first 4 picks, it's
Yeah, you're like behind.
Weird.
I don't know. Oh, there we go. Well, I liked their picks. I can agree with you when you say that their picks didn't necessarily have. Well, I'll put it in reverse. A lot of their picks have very high ceiling, but we don't know where their floor is in the NFL.
Yes.
As of right now, because there's so much potential, so much on-field potential, but how were their game from college being, let's say, Calvin Austin the third, coming from the Memphis offense where it's, run and gun, 4 wide receiver sets, get open, I'm going to throw it in coverage and find somebody. Yeah. Will that transition to the NFL? His combine was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's probably what got him his combine's most likely what got him, to being a 4th round, 3rd round, 4th round draft pick. But he has the potential to be a guy that can come in with some sure hands that can work the slot, that can work that deep ball. He's kind of, if I had to put him in terms of a player, Tyreek Hill-esque with his style of play.
Yeah.
Will his physicality transfer over, because he is 170 pounds and he's only 5 foot. They have him at 5'9".
Yeah,
but I don't even really know if he's 5'9". He might be 5'9" complete. But George Pickens, I would give him a B grade with potential upside for A+ within the next couple of years, if he can show that his ACL isn't going to be an issue that's going to keep him from progressing as a player, because he had great flashes as a player when he was healthy. So his health is a big issue for him. If he can stay healthy and stay on the field, he could be something. I'm going to give an F for Kenny Pickett with a potential to get a D+, because I don't like Kenny Pickett. I've been avid about on Twitter and anyone who will listen, that not to draft Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
He's on the same team as the guy who tried to do the same exact thing. And they're going to be shooting to try to become a bridge gap quarterback for potentially next year. The only reason I don't hold their draft class lower than maybe a B minus is simply because of the track record of the scouts at Pittsburgh. They seem to find some of the greatest talent, and
they do.
The first round. It doesn't have to be the first round. They pick right, and I didn't even mention some of the other players that they picked up over the years that have come in and been. When's the last time they drafted a wide receiver in the first round?
A long time.
I think it's 2008. And
Antonio
how
Holmes.
many great wide receivers have played and been drafted by Pittsburgh?
Yeah, that's true.
Second and third round talent. They have a way of finding talent. I wouldn't be surprised if George Pickens and Calvin Austin find a spot on this offense. I think Claypool will be the guy, first man out. That's a topic for a whole nother podcast. Yep. I'm out on Claypool. I think the new regime is probably going to be out on Claypool too. So I think there's a potential for George Pickens and Calvin Austin really to be a significant boost. But we don't know where their floor will be in the NFL. So it's kind of hope they hit. Kind of that's it.
All right, let's go to the last team in the AFC North. I'm ready to be biased, fellas. It's the Ravens. I'm only gonna give the Ravens an A because they didn't reach, and we took a lot of guys that should have been or were talked about as first round talent or early second round talent way late. And everything we took was a need without it being a stupid need. Jalen Armour Davis will probably find a way to probably play as a nickel in that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Kolar, Isaiah Likely will both find a lot of options behind Andrews and Boyle.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Stout, Kyle, thanks for sending me those stats on draft day because I was mad we didn't take Matt Araiza for a minute. But I've seen his stats. I'm okay with that guy. He's got a cannon for a leg. Daniel Falele will be an interesting. I think he'll be the big question mark out of all of them. Travis Jones was really good. Ojabo probably won't see the field this year, but that's okay. He doesn't really need to. We have a good defense. He can come in later and address pass rush. Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, I thought, were kind of home runs. I wasn't sure about Linderbaum for a bit because of his size, but the videos of him going around wrestling and beating up on NFL players that are currently playing, I'm good. So I'll give him an A just because I thought they were really clever with their draft. It was a classic Baltimore draft of just take what's available and take the best.
Don't reach approach saves a lot of teams.
It does.
A lot of bad mistakes. I tell you what, out of the last 5 Super Bowl teams, their drafts, they don't reach. The Patriots never reach. They give away stuff and find those diamonds in the rough. Baltimore does the same thing. Pittsburgh has that pedigree. There's not many teams that can consistently do that, but when you find a way, when your GM's smart, you find a way.
You make it happen.
Find a
way. What grade would you guys give them?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd give them an A minus. Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, you're good now. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'd give them an A minus just because receiver I feel like is a desperate need, especially after you get rid of Marquise Brown. I love that trade. I mean, it worked out in their favor for sure. With their strategy of drafting 2 tight ends, they've done that multiple times before, and it's worked out. So, like, for those people that are like, well, now they don't have, like, anything. Who's Lamar going to throw to? Like, I'm a little bit in that boat, but then I realized that's not their game. That's not their game. And tight ends really proved to be the receiver in that offense. So even if one of those guys pan out, like, I think this is a successful draft for his weapons. So, yeah, like you said, they didn't reach it all. Every pick really seemed like a home run when it came on the screen. It was like, oh, that guy was around still? Of course, they picked him. Like, And in this draft too, they got screwed over a few times because teams traded in front of them to pick a player, and they were just like, "Well, all right, we'll go with whoever's best on our board," and that's always a smart strategy. So, I'd give it an A-.
I can go with that. I'll give them a solid A, just strictly because of their approach and the players that they were picking. One player in particular, even though it may be at tight end, I think personally they grabbed the best versatile pass catching tight end in the draft in Charlie Collier. He's very good. He played with Iowa State. He has sure hands. He ran a 4.67, being 6'6" and 256 pounds. He can move.
He's a bruiser. Yep.
Yeah. His blocking, his hand work on his blocking could do a revamping because his hand placement sucks. But he's a good pass catching tight end to kind of be insurance if off injured Mark Andrews seems to not make the field. But I can see where his floor could be a consistent 6-7 targets as a rookie. That's without Mark Andrews being there. He probably won't see much of the field. Well, he might be the second tight end because I don't think they have much in their depth chart. But overall, the cornerbacks that they got in the middle rounds, I felt could be an impact for depth because the cornerback position was a position that they really needed to go at. If, second to wide receiver, but I feel like the wide receiver core added with the rookies could benefit. There could be a guy that's still sitting out there we don't even remember about that could end up on the team and have an opportunity. But I don't feel as bad because they went and got two tight ends, Collier being the first one. So I feel kind of good about that. I feel good about Travis Jones, from Connecticut. A lot of guys overlooked him. He got overlooked a lot because of the likes of Jordan Davis. And, some of those other guys that kind of went up the board before him. But I look at consistency, and he's consistent on pass and run. He's not particularly great at anything, but he's good at a lot. And if you can do well on pass and rundowns, even if you're not as consistent on rundowns as pass downs, you're going to make a good defensive tackle. And if you could take up space and be athletic, they got a lot of athletic guys. That's their pedigree. They're tall, athletic, can move around. Cornerbacks can play man. There's going to be some guys that are going to compete for that nickel spot.
Yep.
I think one of the rookies could take that nickel spot this year.
Yep.
Because some guys could use a bump out. I just see a lot of potential in the team as a whole. The offense, not so much because of the uncertainty of wide receiver, but defense, I can see bump up in you guys' pass coverage. I like the fact that they went and got Ojabo. I think he may come back sooner than most people would expect, but don't hold me to that. But for the future, you lose a year with him being injured. So he has to come back in with a little bit higher. He'll climb out. Would like for him to come back, before the season ends. Hopefully, you guys make the playoffs. So you can get a couple reps in. So, with the way it is, I feel like you got second base.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. That will wrap up the AFC North. Let's go to the AFC South, a division that is usually up for grabs. Let's go to the Colts first. Sorry, I was waiting for it to come back around. I liked their draft. You want to talk about a value draft? The Colts draft was pretty good. Alec Pierce is good. I'll take Alec Pierce. Jelani Woods, the 6'7", 259, 4.6 speed tight end, who's probably going to be a monster. Bernhard Raymond, we were talking about him in the first round. Maybe got him in the third round. Mm-hmm. Will he develop as a first round talent? At least he's on a really good line that features.
I think he has all the tools to do it.
So Nick Cross was a good one. I thought that was a steal. That guy's fast. 4.40, the fastest guy in the draft, and they got him in the third round. Andrew Ogletree will probably find a way to carve out a role there because their tight ends besides Mo Alley Cox are really meh.
Treasure.
And that was all I was really impressed with. But it was value for a team that didn't have a first round pick. They really took advantage of that Carson Wentz trade for a second rounder and really turned that into a receiver that could be a day one contributor. So, and probably a really good pairing with Michael Pittman, I think. They had options. They could have taken David Bell. I was thinking of a lot of different things they could take, but Alec Pierce probably would pair really well with Michael Pittman. Now that remains to be seen, but I'm going to go ahead and give the Colts. I'll give them a B plus. I thought they did pretty good.
Yeah, I'd give them that too, Brad. The Colts historically aren't very good at drafting first round receivers. I believe they drafted Philip Dorsett in the first round, at least recently. But they have been notorious for drafting pretty good receivers in the second and late. Like guys like Austin Collie, he was good for a little bit. Michael Pittman, second rounder. Like they have the ability to draft receivers a little bit later and get them on the field right away and have them produce. Jelani Woods at tight end, like you said, he's a monster. He's probably the best blocking tight end in this draft. Mo Alley Cox is fine, but he doesn't really have much versatility. He's not a big pass catcher. He's really not. He's there just to move bodies.
More of a short yardage guy, big body.
Yeah, he's not really going to go down the field. I think Jelani Woods offers that a lot more. Bernard Raven, I think, has all the athleticism and all the tools to become a solid right tackle. Like, I think he can be one of those nasty athletic right tackles the next 10 years for them. Look at their offensive line, like guys like Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson. I feel like they know what they're looking for in offensive linemen, and they can get them up to shape in the game and playing right away. And Nick Cross, like you said, I watched him a lot when I was watching Penn State and Maryland games. He is very much that kind of safety they were hoping Malik Hooker to be when they drafted him out of Ohio State. Now, will he become that kind of safety? Like, I don't know, but that's what they want. They want a deep safety who can go sideline to cover. He's not going to be in the box a ton, I don't think, but he's going to be probably like a single high safety kind of safety and just run around in the back and make plays left and right. Like, if he has that speed, you better use it. So I think that's kind of what they want him for. I'd love their first 4 picks. I'm going to give that probably a B plus as well. So
cool.
Well, I'll give them a C plus. And it's mostly because of a kind of lack of emphasis on building upon their secondary, which is not the best. But I do like Rayman because he's awesome. He's first round potential, and he slipped down to the second round. PFF gave him overall grade of 94.6 with 88.7 pass block grade, which was 13th in college football last year, and then 94.6 run block grade, which was 3rd. He has potential to really help out that offensive line, and with them trying to protect pocket passer Matt Ryan, they'll need all the help they can get, and I feel like they really did a lot to help solidify that with that pick. I'm kind of not the biggest fan of Alec Pierce, just based on his style of play. He's in my opinion, a lower ranked version of Drake London without the separation. He's more of a contested catcher, and as we've seen the common trend, if you just stick to one style of play consistently, and you're not as versatile, you'll become one-dimensional. And good cornerbacks, even halfway decent cornerbacks, will learn to key in on that. And their game plan will be taking away the contested catch, which will be a too high approach. We've seen it done. And if you can't get open in the middle of the field, if your hands are a little bit in doubt, yes, you got that burner speed. You can get away once you get there, but your route running is not where I would want it to be. He's got a lot of what they call false steps in his route, that don't really create any separation. They're just wasted movement, and there's a lot of wasted movement to the game. Drake London also has that problem, but he does it a lot less because he actually does have the ability to move players around based on his hip movement. I don't see that much in Alec Pierce, so I'm kind of out on that. As I said before, they waited a little bit too long in my taste to grab cornerbacks to try to help shore up. Nick Cross may be a great nickel, come in and play a little nickel. He's got that potential. They did do a pretty decent job grabbing some underrated, undrafted free agents. The quarterback, Jack Cohn from Wisconsin. I don't know why I like him. I saw him play a couple games and his potential. And they also got the linebacker from Nebraska, JoJo Doman. I just like him because his name's Doman. They have a lot of potential. But I feel like they didn't attack certain spots the way they needed to, because obviously the draft didn't fall their way based on their picks. But they first 4 rounds, they did pretty good. After that, I feel like they were just throwing darts.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, with the next team that we're going to talk about, the Jags.
Throwing darts.
I'll give the Jags a B-. Trayvon Walker, it's going to be boom or bust. I think Walker's a good player. I don't know that the Jags are quite known for developing good talent because it's the Jags, so I don't know that was the best fit for him. Devin Lloyd, I like that pick too. They addressed defensive needs. Lloyd was stupid good. The fact that he fell that far just shows that we don't value the linebacker, or the NFL doesn't value the linebacker position nearly as much as they should. I think he'll take it for what where Miles Jack was. That's where he'll play. Okay. Luke Fortner, that's good. Gives some blocking help for Trevor Lawrence. Chad Muma, did you not trust the Devin Lloyd pick there, or do you just need that many linebackers for linebacker depth?
Nobody needs that many
linebackers. Wyoming's been churning out some semi-decent linebackers the past couple of years.
Yeah, so, the Atlanta got his counterpart in the middle, Troy Anderson.
Yep, that's right.
So that's two. That's two out of this. Both linebackers got drafted. I'm betting more on Troy Anderson than Mona, but
that's why I gave him a B-. It's not. It does move the needle for them on defense, because that defense is atrocious. And if those two can come in, or even 3, I'll throw Muma in there too. If those 3 can come in and contribute and actually help a lot, that defense could be one of the better defenses in that league. Obviously, the Colts are probably the best defense out of the 4 teams, but the Titans, not really. The Texans, definitely not. So if they move the needle a little bit, it means more for the division, not necessarily for the whole NFL, but for that division, it might be good. So B- for me.
Yeah, I'm going to say Luke Fortner is going to be the longest tenured Jaguar after 5 years of play. I think probably 2 of their top 4 guys will probably be traded in 2 years, because that's what the Jaguars do. Getting Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma, who are both pretty incredible linebackers from what I've seen, and when they already signed a linebacker this offseason to a massive contract. I'm sorry, but no one in the NFL uses 3 linebackers that much. It's very rare, unless it's 4th and goal, so you stick 4 linebackers on the field. So I don't really understand getting all these linebackers in their offseason. It doesn't make much sense. And then I've always said, if you're trying to go from crap to great, you have to be mediocre first. And I feel like to be mediocre first, you have to get good players. I don't know if Trayvon Walker is going to be a solid, good player for them for the next 10 years. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to be. Trayvon Walker, I feel like, has very boom or bust kind of potential, and I don't trust that as the number 1 pick. So for me, I'm going to give them a C minus. Like, I think the first 4 guys are talented and they have a lot of potential. I just don't think I don't think they thought about this that much, like with their picks. I really don't. I think they just kind of went on a wing and a prayer and, picked whoever thought they sounded was good. Like, I don't think they had a good strategy in this draft at all. So, I'm going to give them a C minus. So.
Well, I'll stay in the C range, but I'll give them a C plus just because of the effort. You can see that their biggest need in the draft obviously was linebacker being in the 3-4 set, but as much as you see the offenses around the league transitioning to 3 wide receiver sets, I don't think you want 3 linebackers out there, no matter how fast they are. You would want that covered up with cornerbacks, giving yourself a little bit more protection. I'm kind of biased towards Trayvon Walker for obvious reasons, more than just intangibles. His freakish show at the combine just makes you just ooze all over when you see how great a potential he can be. And I don't really know if you guys know this, but if the Jaguars aren't good for anything else, it's producing defensive linemen. There's a lot of defensive linemen, whether it be previous or present, that are a product of that defensive line. And I really think they can tap some potential with Trayvon Walker just because of his versatility. You can't unteach quick twitch motion. You can't change someone's motor. He's got a very high motor. And as long as he can keep his leverage, I see him being a pretty good player. But on that same token, I can see his floor being maybe 5 sacks.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets injured, but
would that be so much on him as it would be the Jags?
It would be more on the Jags. It's for a lack of a better term, it's a crap show over there. You're transitioning to a whole new offense, and quarterback going to have to try something new. But the pieces that they brought in, I felt like they would at least give themselves a chance. Muma, maybe not so much. Maybe not after a lot of these teams. Like after the 4th round, they got depth. They got another running back for whatever reason. I guess for depth because they have a problem with keeping their potential starting running backs healthy, like Baltimore. Sorry, no clue. But it looks like something that could be something. But you never know with a team that was just the worst team in the NFL.
Speaking of some of the worst teams in the NFL, how about the Texans? I'll give you this though. For once, the Texans didn't pick stupidly. The only thing I thought they kind of reached on was Stingley. Stingley is still good. Stingley is still an elite prospect. I just personally would have taken Ahmad Gardner in that spot over Stingley.
He does not fit the defense.
I know.
He doesn't fit the defense. You can't change a unicorn and make him a horse.
True, but you can't take somebody that did like nothing for 2 years and then hope that he's the best thing.
He doesn't have to play man coverage day one. He's very good at zone. It's a zone defense.
It's true. Well, and Lovie Smith is going to know what he wants.
See, look, you got all the answers. Told you, man.
So that was a good pick. Actually, really good pick for them. Kenyon Green, I thought that was a really good pick for them too. If Davis Mills is your quarterback of the future, if it isn't, we try. But secondly, if he is good, smart, go out, get an elite protector up front, give him help, especially for a rushing game. How many running backs did we see for them last year? 4, 5. Like, you're not the Patriots. I know you got some Patriots staff in there, but that doesn't work for everybody. So 2 good picks. Jalen Petrie, a guy that was talked about going in the 1st round, a good pick. I'll be biased. I think he's good. You guys can rip me for this. John Mechie, I thought that was a good pick, a good contributor. He's going to be a really good. He's not going to be a wide receiver one, but he'll be a really good complement. And I think that's what they need is a complementary piece. Because he took backseat to JMO. I mean, he's still good, but he still took backseat to JMO because JMO was that number one threat. Speaking of Alabama players, Christian Harris, I thought wherever he landed was going to be a steal. He's smaller, but he could probably start because of how Houston's defense is. Damian Pierce, I thought was a really good running back. Comes out of Florida, so kind of rolling the dice a little bit. And then outside of that, like meh. But hey, those first couple picks were good. I'll give him a B minus. It wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad.
I agree with you. I'll take it a step up. I'll give them a solid B plus because the players that they got are really good. Like John Mechie, I don't know, but he had 2,000. This is from PFF College, right? He had 2,058 yards since 2020. That's third among Power 5 wide receivers, right? Damian Pierce is PFF grade. Drum roll. 92 in 2021. First among Power 5 running backs. That is a lot of talent. People sleep on Pierce. He wasn't talked about.
No.
Like Kenneth Walker, like some of these other guys, but he has the potential. If you saw, I remember I've seen him 3 times play Jordan. And every single time you could see the potential, his ability to shake tackles, his ability to put the brakes on, his ability to take a hit, to give a hit.
Yeah.
John Mechie's ability to play the slot is what sold him a little bit. Mm-hmm. I want to see him be able to play the outside. Yeah. Jameson Williams took that number 1 spot. He took it because there was no way to beat that blazing speed. John Mechie is not such a blazer, but he's a
crisp route runner. That's what I like about him.
There you go. If I had to put him towards another Alabama wide receiver, I would say he reminds me of Calvin Ridley. His ability to move seamlessly through, like his seam route is a dream to watch.
Yeah.
You know, his quick slant, his feet, he doesn't take false steps.
His cuts are great. I mean, that's how we won the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
He did a little in and wide open. Great, crisp little move.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're good. Anyhow, we have one more. We're going to do the AFC West, and then we're going to wrap up. If you are chilling out, hanging out with us, awesome. We'll see you on Friday with our first of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series. We'll be doing Fellowship of the Ring. Please be prepared for that. That will kind of take up most of our summer going through Lord of the Rings. But we will start that this Friday. So make sure you tune in 7:00. Don't miss it. It's going to be fun. Now that you're back, what did you want to grade them? What would you give them, a B plus?
B plus.
Okay.
I gave them a solid B plus.
Okay. Let's do the Titans. Kyle's trying to restart his computer. He said he'd be back in a minute.
Okay.
The Titans, you do what you need to. I'll talk for a minute. The Titans weren't bad. I didn't hate it. The only pick that I was iffy about was their first one in Treylon Burks. Like,
it's like you're trying to replace one of one.
Yes, like he's built the same way as AJ Brown, but will he produce the same way as AJ Brown? Like, are you guys just hoping he'll be the next thing? I didn't know if you heard some of the talk out of training camp. Like, he was getting winded very early and had to come out, and I'm like, that's not good.
It's not good. He's overweight.
Yep, that is not a good sign.
Remember, there's another wide receiver. I think he played with the Panthers. He had a problem keeping his weight. They tried to convert him to a tight end. I can't think of his name, but that's that problem. You have those contested catchers.
Yeah. Is there
they can't keep that weight down? They can't stay in shape.
Now, if he did, he'd be a sleek, kind of like slim threat. And I would say, great job getting rid of AJ Brown. Get the next best thing. But he's already struggling, and that makes me nervous.
Often injured AJ Brown.
Yes. They took Roger McCreary. Good pick. I thought that was good. He's going to go with Caleb Farley. Fantastic. That'll work out for you. Petit Frere, big guy out of Ohio State. Good for some O-line protection. Derrick Henry is that offense. I know there are the Tannehill stands out there. I am not a Tannehill stand. Sorry. Derrick Henry is that offense. Fight me somewhere else. However, that could change because Malik Willis was their next pick.
Yeah.
And I loved that just because even if he takes time to develop, he will most likely be the guy. And a lot of people are saying he reminds them of McNair, which if he sniffs anything close to McNair, I'd like to see it. Do I believe it'll happen? Probably not. I think Steve McNair was kind of a one and done kind of player. You can't replicate that. I'm talking about Malik Willis. There's a lot of online comments about him being very similar to Steve McNair. He could be. We'll see. Then they took Hassan Haskins. That's good. Derrick Henry needs somebody behind him. Not a problem. And then outside of that, it was just kind of – yes, he's also a really good pass catcher. I agree. So to me, it just felt really questionable. I'm going to try something to see if I can help Kyle. Let's see if that makes things better. But all in all, I gave the Titans a B-. I think their first-round pick might be the only thing that screws them. Outside of that, it was pretty decent. I just don't know how well they'll compete with everybody else in that division.
Didn't they get Robert Woods?
Yes, they did. Yep.
So they're not totally outside the realm of hope with at least another wide receiver that's competent. I would at least want one that was a little more on the healthier side, but there's just a lot of question marks. The wide receiver core, I don't believe in Traylon Burks. If you guys remember when we did our rankings of them, he was the last one on my list. You know? And I felt like they kind of reached for him because then they picked him over someone else that was still on the board. They picked him over Jamison Williams. I wouldn't have made that decision.
No.
Honestly.
But I get it. They may have wanted the healthy guy to contribute day one, and I'm not sure Nemo would have done that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, well, let's move on to our last division here, and then we'll call it a day. The AFC West, what I am now dubbing the most exciting division in the NFL. All four of those teams are pretty good. The Broncos are the only ones I would say are questionable. It depends on how well Russ's weapons pan out. It depends on what happens with Jerry Jeudy. But the other three loaded up. They all loaded up for this offseason. Oh, yeah, I can't hear you at all.
Williams went before.
We lost him.
No, he's still there. Go ahead. Hang on, I'm texting him back. He said, I don't think anybody can hear me.
No.
Yeah, sorry, fam. Can you hear us now? Okay, nope, he's gone. Okay. He said he's going to head out. Okay, let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. I didn't think they were bad. Trent McDuffie is good. George Karlaftis is a freak. If he can figure out the rest of the game and keep learning, he's insanely dangerous. And if Frank Clark gets too old and retires, Karlaftis is right there to replace him. Sky Moore, we know he's there to replace Tyreek Hill. I don't think anyone will, but I think he'll carve out his own role in that offense. Yeah. That's okay.
And he'll have opportunity.
He will. Brian Cook is okay. Leo Chenal, the guy out of Wisconsin, it's a good pick, but he's going to have to learn a new defense. So
yeah, it's going to take a little adjustment.
An adjustment.
Yeah.
Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville State. I thought that was a steal for whoever would get him. McDuffie and Joshua Williams will absolutely go in there and address some needs for them on defense. Kennard out of Kentucky is good. Protect Mahomes. That's how they lost the Super Bowl against the Bucs, when they couldn't protect him. And then everything else was kind of meh. It was just seventh rounders. But hey, you know what? For giving up Tyreek Hill, I'll give them a B. They were really solid about their picks without being reachy.
Yes, and they went out and acquired things that they felt like they needed. The wide receivers kind of went away before they really got their pick of the best ones. But out of the ones who were left, I see Sky Moore as the one who has a lot of potential to kind of at least carve an outside role for himself or a quick guy through the middle. He can move in and outside. So I think, and with McDuffie, I like Trent McDuffie.
Yes.
I personally like his cornerbacking style. He's one of the best man-to-man coverage guys PFF had at number 2.
It's those Washington corners, man. They're always really good.
The pedigree is there. So
Yes.
I have no other – I have to respect it because, excuse me, they're one of the best. They're one of the best teams at building that kind of style of player that you would want, and he's it. I tell you, he's it.
I like it.
It's,
Hang on. I'm trying to see if he can come back. He's checking his Wi-Fi. Okay. So we did the Chiefs. Let's go to the Raiders. Anytime you trade out of the first round, I'm going to complain and call you crappy.
yeah.
However, they got Devontae Adams. It doesn't count for their draft. But for their first pick to be Dylan Parham, the guard out of Memphis, that's good. I think he was graded pretty high in PFF because I did a couple mock drafts in PFF and he was up there.
Yeah, he had a pretty good draft.
He'll be good. Protect Derek Carr. Get Josh Jacobs' train rolling. I like it. Zamir White out of Georgia for obvious reasons. That's good. They had a whole stable full of receivers that were good or running backs that were good. So just pick one, I guess, out of a hat and you're okay. And historically, Georgia running backs have done really well. Not going to hurt you. Then we went D tackle, and then everything else is kind of meh. So I just don't think they did enough to move the needle. Just for their draft, not their offseason moves. Just for their draft, I'm going to give them a C-. Parham is the only reason they have a C- because he's really good, or else I would give them a D because what'd you do? So it's harsh, but look, anytime you trade away your first-round pick and don't come away with anything, it's hard for me to say that you stole the draft. So
That part. I agree with you. Dylan Parham was their best pick. Their worst pick was D tackle Neil Farrell Jr. I don't see him making it. His hand placement's bad. Penalties on him a lot. They had multiple options, and they chose him, and I don't see why they would have made that pick. But overall, they got a B. Zamir White was a good pick. I don't really have much faith in Josh Jacobs actually being a 3-down back. He hasn't shown it in the time that he's been there. So, Zeus, as they call him, White can come in and bring some new life to that running game. They did enough on defense to make me not hate them as much, but
yeah, I agree. Next team is the Chargers. I didn't hate it. I think there were 2 picks that could be steals. The first one being Zion Johnson. You're going to pair up Zion Johnson with Rashawn Slater. I don't think anybody's getting back to Justin Herbert anymore.
no.
I think he's good. He's solid. He's got no line. I like Eckler. Eckler's good. Here's the second pick that they had that I'm going to be really questionable about. You and I watch the SEC all the time. I know you're going to be the best person to bounce this off of. Isaiah Spiller. He's good. He is. But is this the right fit for him? I don't think so. I think at best he'll be the second option. But I'm not sold because he's not a freight train. He's a speed back.
Yeah.
And Eckler is kind of already that do-it-all guy. What do you need another running back for?
Insurance. You have to if you want to build a team that that puts together, and when players go out, you don't miss a beat. Isaiah Spiller is kind of a change of pace kind of running back. If you have, if you can remember, Austin Eckler was out a lot last year, last 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember times they were playing Justin Johnson. I can't remember the other players'
Joshua
name.
Kelly.
Yeah, Joshua Kelly. So to bring in someone who could be serviceable at the running back position at your backup or your third round, it's good to have good depth at running back. And I feel like he brings good depth. Some of their other picks were pretty questionable, but JT Woods, I don't like JT Woods. He wasn't that good in college.
He's the lesser version of Petrie. So if you didn't get Petrie, that's your consolation prize.
Yeah, but I feel like they could have just went and got another quarterback.
Yeah.
Or something else. Another developmental piece. Why waste a third round on a safety that you could have gotten day 3, 4?
Right. I don't it didn't make sense to me. So I gave him a B-. I'm being nice because I think Zion Johnson is going to be an absolute steal. Spiller could be good. He just needs to develop. He needs time. Yeah. Everything else I agree with you was you picked somebody.
Yeah.
So let's do the last team and then we will wrap up for the night. It's the Denver Broncos. I'm going to be mean to them, and it's not because they don't have a first-round pick. It's because they only had 2 good picks, and then everything else was kind of garbage. They had Nick Bonito, who was rising up the draft board like a week prior to the draft. Nick Bonito is good linebacker. They need somebody to replace Von Miller. That was glaringly obvious last year. Because he's aging out. I think he'll be fine with the Rams. I don't think he's going to be exactly what the Rams think he's going to be. So Bonito has that chance to be the next guy in the middle. He should be working with Chubb, right? He and Chubb should be working off the edge a little bit. And then the second good one that they picked, I thought it was so stupid of them to trade Noah Fant. And then they drafted Greg Dulcich. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm back on board. Good pick. I like
solid pass catcher, solid defender.
Yeah.
He's not super excellent and everything, but he can do what you need him to do.
Which is fantastic. And then it all just went. So I was really harsh with them. I gave them a C-. So, I mean, when you pick that many times and you only have 2 players that may potentially start, that's not good. That's not good. That means your guys in the scouting room are not doing their job right because you took a whole bunch of they may see some time, but
it may not.
I'm just harsh. I'm really harsh with teams because I'm like, okay, like there are value picks in later rounds, but when you take guys that are developmental projects, it's going to be painful. So
I kind of like Damari Mathis, the cornerback from Pittsburgh. He showed a lot of first round potential, and he played with the cornerback that's already on the team last year. Certain. But anyway, and I feel like he has potential to actually take somebody's spot. Probably Ronald Darby had a bit with consistency. There's a lot of iffiness in a lot of the picks that they made, but I feel like they could potentially make something. I just see a lot of potential, but a lot of question mark because it's not sure. It's not a sure thing.
Yes,
if it's a sure thing they'd have been in the first and second round. You know,
right.
There's a lot of questionable talent, low floor, potential high ceiling. You know, but
agreed.
You can't go wrong when you're trying.
It's true. Yeah.
Starting with Russell Wilson and being able to get Nick Bonito in the second round. Whew, that was a prayer answered.
Yeah.
He was almost out of there.
Yeah. Well, and what's worse is how many more quarterbacks were the Broncos going to burn through? So
there you go.
But Anyways, yeah, those are our AFC draft grades. Next week, we will do NFC draft grades, which is good. Jay will probably give us a really in-depth opinion of where the Falcons are, which is good because I know you weren't happy with their pick on draft day. So we'll see how you feel about that now that you've had a little time to sit on it.
Yes.
But thanks for hanging out, man. Thanks for covering for us. Hopefully, Kyle will be okay for our second episode we're recording. Later, we'll find out. But as usual, guys, thanks for hanging. Like, subscribe, share, and we will see you next week.
Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.